Thank you. I'd like to now introduce my or our special guest from the National Alliance for Mental Illness, Francine Nowotny. Did I get that right?
Yes, you did.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to thank you all for having me here today. I really appreciate it and welcoming me into your loving community. Thank you very much. As he just said, my name is Francine Nowotny, and I have a mental illness. But what I want to say is that having a mental illness, there still is hope and recovery. And for me, I've been struggling with schizoaffective bipolar type since I was 23 years of age. I'm 49 now, so it's been over 20 years that I've been dealing with this. And I've had many symptoms of it. I've had paranoia, delusions, dissociations, bizarre thinking, catatonic, depression, and mania. And basically, I've tried every medicine in the book also. But let me go back to those that may not know what exactly those symptoms are. Paranoia, when I first got sick, I was in graduate school. I was about 23, and a friend of mine went, and she committed suicide. And I don't know if I was just prone to have a mental illness or whether I was triggered by this girl's suicide. I was the last one to talk with her, and her mother blames me that whatever I said to her must have triggered it. And that was my first experience with suicide. Dissociations, basically it's like cutting yourself off from reality. Dissociations are, for example, with myself, I attempted suicide, but the thing is, I took a bottle of pills, but the thing is that I wasn't conscious of it. I didn't have to think about it. I didn't have to, it wasn't a conscious decision. I just came home, saw the bottle, took the bottle, and that was it, you know? And then when I broke through that dissociation, or when I broke through, I called my therapist and told her what I did, and she said, go to the hospital, go to the hospital. I don't remember driving to the hospital. I don't know how I got to the hospital. My mom was there in the waiting room. I don't remember that. They put me in ICU, and I don't remember that. So that is strong dissociation, you know, where you just cut yourself off from the world. Bizarre thinking. In my diagnosis, the schizo is basically the bizarre thinking, and it just pops into your head. And the affective part of it is the moods. That's the depression and the mania. You can have them both together, where the mania takes you really high and depression takes you really slow. And if you keep going up and down, they call that bipolar. If you can just have the depression by itself, which is what I'm kind of struggling with right now, or you can have the mania by itself. And when I was in my mania phase, spending was for me. Spending was really high. And I remember I went to Macy's at the time, and you know, I liked nice clothes, so I would go and buy Ralph Lauren clothes and stuff like that. And so finally, like, my card got suspended, you know, and I'm thinking, suspended, you know, that can't be. But then I thought, okay, well, Ralph Lauren must need me right away to go ahead and design his clothes. He wants to meet me. That's why he suspended my card, because he needs me for design. So it's just all this bizarre thinking, and it's just something that you struggle with. Um, you can get on medications, and if you find the right medication, that's great. But for me, it took years finding the right medication. And to get on them is a process. It's not like you just take medicine, that's it, and you're good for the rest of your life. For me, that's not the case. My first hospitalization was about medication. I was acting really bizarre. I was going and sleeping on the driveway and in the middle of the night, and I wouldn't come in the house. And so my brother got really smart because he knows I'm afraid of snakes. I can't stand them. So he came out, and I'm lying on his driveway, like at midnight. I don't know what I was doing. He says, "Fran, there's a snake over there." And I said, "Where?" He goes, "It's coming your way." So I got up, bolted, and went inside, you know. So that's another thing, you know. When we do have bizarre behavior, it's to us, it's real. It's really real. So if you could go with the delusions or with the bizarre behavior, go with it, you know, unless it's hurting someone or hurting yourself. Then of course you need to intervene and call 911 or get them into the hospital right away. And that's what my parents did when I was sleeping on that driveway. They said they had enough, and they called 911 and got me into the hospital. And I was adamant I wasn't going to take medication. I wasn't going to take it. And the doctor in the hospital said, "Yes, you will take it." So the orderlies came, put me in this padded white room. They do exist. And said, "We're going to leave you here until we can draw your blood and take your medications, you know." And I said, "No way, no way." And they left me there, and I was crying, upset, whatnot. They would check on me in a little bit, and I said, "No way." Eventually, they won out, you know. So I started to take my medication at that time. But taking the medication, for me, was you feel so good on the medication, and then you think, "Oh, well, I don't have this. I feel so good, so I'm going to go ahead and get off my medication." And of course, you don't tell anyone you're going off your medication. You just kind of go off your medication, you know. Even though you go to a therapist, you know, and you just don't take it, you know. That's my experience. So one time I didn't take it. And of course, it slowly came back on for me. And as a result, people around me could see it, but I couldn't. And by the time I caught it or whatever, I was in a full-blown psychosis and breakdown. So what happened was that I went and I was up at my friend's in Virginia, and I just got these bizarre thoughts. The thoughts just came to me. And the thought that came to me was, the devil's going to get my soul. He's going to come after me, and he's going to get my soul. You know, and I was really terrified because I really believe this. I mean, this is really strong. So the devil's going to get my soul, and I won't be able to be with God, which is what I wanted. So I went. And when I went to restaurants, I had to do a whole exorcism of the food, the back kitchen. So I would just sit there and do an exorcism, and that didn't work too well. So I ended up getting kicked out of that place, even though I was just sitting there doing nothing. I was just sitting there minding my own business. They weren't crowded, but they didn't want me there. So again, I thought, you know, the devil's going to get me. So the next thought I had, the devil's going to get me through food and drink. okay? And that's how the devil's going to work. So what did I do? I stopped eating and drinking for 2 weeks straight. I refused to eat. I refused to drink. Um, my mom tried to, entice me with Burger King and milkshakes and everything else. She put it right in front of me. No way. I would not do it. So as 2 weeks came, somehow they got me into a medical hospital. I got infections and stuff, and I was really pretty dehydrated. So they tried to put IVs in me really, as quickly as they could. And as quickly as they could, I would go ahead and rip them out as quickly as they got me. So I was fighting, but hey, I was fighting for my life because I thought the devil was going to come after me. So again, anything medical they did with an IV or anything, I just yanked it out, and I wouldn't take it. There's no way I was going to take it. So they said, okay, you're going down to the psych unit, famous psych unit. I've had about 5 of them. But so I go down there, and my mom, who was out of state, she had flown to Virginia at this time, and she needed a power of attorney to see me. They would not let her see me at all because, 1, I'm over 18. 2, different state. She had no rights. She had no rights to me. So she had to show the hospital a power of attorney, and they took it to their lawyers. And once they declared that it was legit, she could see me. And I told my mom, I said, they're coming to get my, spirit. They're coming to get my spirit. So, and my mom asked the psychiatrist, how is she doing? Like, what's going on? The psychiatrist said basically she's dying. It's hemorrhaging. I wouldn't eat. I wouldn't drink. And the doctor said she's dying. So the first thing my mom did was go and find someone that could basically help me with my spirituality, because this is pretty much the realm I was in. So whoever she brought helped me. She says, there's no way the devil can get your soul, but you do need to eat. And I said, no, I can't. So there was this nurse on the floor, and I had my eyes closed. I was a mess. And they brought an IV to the psych unit, which usually they don't do. So this nurse, I had my eyes closed and everything, and the nurse said to me, can I put an IV in you? I thought about it for a while, and I said, okay. But I only said okay because I heard goodness in her voice. I heard goodness, like the way she asked me, and, I had prayed on it, and I said, okay. So she put the IV in, and it must have been maybe just 5 minutes, the most 10. I'm thinking more closer to 5. She comes to check on me, and I tell her, I said, I'm going to rip it out. Take it out. I'm going to rip it out now. I can't take it. She said, excuse me. She said, okay. I was going to come and take it out anyway. So she took out the IV. Wouldn't you know, that little bit just worked. It wanted me desire to drink water. I was like, oh no, I was all upset. But they had water there, and what did I think was in the water? Yep. No, cyanide. Oh my God. I thought it was cyanide. So I refused to drink, and then this is all my internal struggle. I mean, I'm not talking to anybody. This is all within me. And I'm thinking, God, there's cyanide in there. How can I drink it? Because, again, I'm fighting for my life. So I got the dehydration, wanting me to drink, and then I got the water, and I'm saying, oh, God, it's cyanide. So after this is maybe going on for 10, 15 minutes, I go ahead and I drink just a little bit. I just drink a little bit. And then that led to another little drink. And so after that, I started to drink a whole lot, And then that causes more dehydration when you drink a whole lot, which I didn't know about. So I started to do that, and then after that they put me on Seroquel, which, medication again. And then, I made, the doctor said, a remarkable recovery, and I was able to go home. And, this is just one episode in so many, but that was an eye opener, and and I still wasn't keen on medication. So so a lot of my delusions and everything were very much good versus evil. And, delusions can be, for a lot of people, different things. But I noticed that there are a lot of good and evil delusions with mental illness. It was really mental illness. And then maybe another thing that you don't know about, which I had, was being catatonic. Catatonic is supposed to be frozen internal rage. And basically, I guess that's what I had, because in the middle of my time with mental illness, I was catatonic, and basically that means I froze, literally froze my body. I mean, I couldn't move my body. I couldn't speak. I could see, but I couldn't make anything out of what I was seeing. I couldn't make sense out of it. Like, I guess I could blink a little bit, but like I said, I couldn't stand. I couldn't move. It's like I'm frozen. I couldn't speak for myself. It's kind of like being in a coma, where there's no input. And so I went, and I was at home, and my mom noticed it. My mom was pretty much my rock through this, and at that time in my mom's bed, it's a little embarrassing, but I thought like a bug came into the room, a very large bug with my imagination, and the large bug was going to come and just engulf my whole body. The main thing to get across was I was very, very, very scared. I mean, scaredest in my life that this bug was going to come in and destroy me. So I had to be very, very, very still. And that's where the catatonic came in. And that resulted in another hospitalization. And what happened was that they had me on the psych unit for about 1 month. And doctor took me off all my medicines. And I got a little bit better, but not really. So then he went and took me down to the psych unit, where I stayed for 2 more months. And what they were trying to do was trying to get me to move, trying to break my catatonic features. And, they tried different medicines, and I got better a little bit, out of the 2 months, but it wasn't anything really too significant. The nurses there in the psych unit would, tear off my covers and say, "Get up, you can walk," and I couldn't. And, they would put me in a wheelchair, and I couldn't, see or hear, and they would put me in positions that were very uncomfortable, spin me around, and just kind of like take advantage of me because, I couldn't speak up for myself or anything. And, my advice is, if you don't need the hospital, hospitals can be very traumatizing. It's a traumatizing experience. If you can, go to an outpatient facility, or if you can really work with your psychiatrist with medicines. I definitely believe in psychiatrists and therapists, together. If you know of a loved one, maybe try them to just basically get the concept of maybe medicine, and try to take baby steps with them, try to do one small task at a time. And that's basically what happened with me with my recovery. I just took very basic baby steps, proud of myself that maybe I got dressed that morning, um, that I got out of bed. And I know that sounds so maybe no big deal, but it is a big deal, Maybe taking a walk to the mailbox to get a little bit of exercise, So I go from the mailbox to the house. That's wonderful. I mean, that's the best. Walking with depression for me is like going through um, like a whole tub of molasses. I mean, it's just there, and to walk when you have depression to me is you're just going through hard up molasses or anything that is just such a struggle. And like I said, a lot of my struggles were internal. I didn't tell anyone, I thought if I told someone that, they think I'm crazy or they'll put me back in another institution, another hospitalization. So if one can even talk or even tell you, this is what I'm afraid of, or, is this really true? A lot of reality testing, of really, is this reality what I'm thinking? Is this, something that's going to come true, or, just help me, is this real or not? So, so, I've had over 20, almost 25 years in this, and, I'm stable right now. I do take my medicines faithfully daily, and I volunteer and do facilitators for NAMI, a support recovery group. And basically, I want to say, if you have no place else to turn to and you feel all alone, NAMI might be a great support for you. They have family to family, which is for the caretakers of it. And they also have like recovery groups that are for the person who has the mental illness, And they also provided resources. If you don't like NAMI, there's other agencies in your town that could possibly be of help. But please don't be afraid to reach out for that help. And just doing that, reaching out for help, is a major step. That's major. That's not baby. That's major. And it takes such a strong person and a brave person to ask for that help. And, hopefully if I'm speaking up here and that just helps one person, that's wonderful. And, like I say, it was better to stumble with your eyes open, so you don't know what you're stumbling into, versus with your eyes closed. So thank you very much for having me.